I am delighted to bring you an interview today with Plus Aziz, who is the main vocalist and guitarist, as well as band leader of the band Kuwaisiana. But before doing so, take a look at this little sneak preview of their latest music video. It's called Baraha, and we'll be right back.
المدرسة شفنا فاشينيستا تتصور بالبراحة تبيك تجرب حظك يا المزيون burnt and resurrected by the
Welcome to another episode of my Arabology online series. And as I promised you every week, a new guest, a new interesting guest today from Louisiana. I have Plus Aziz, who is, of course, with Kuwaisiana. How am I pronouncing that, Aziz? How do you pronounce it?
It's good at Kuwaisiana.
Yeah, which right away should tell people it's a combination of
Kuwait and Louisiana.
MashaAllah. And you are, of course, a young, amazing, talented Kuwaiti artist who is living in Louisiana and whose music has long combined sort of your Khaleeji roots and influences with the music coming from Louisiana. We should say, first of all, Mabruk on the new release of Chapter 2. It's the new EP, Aziz.
That's right.
So Chapter 2 has 5 tracks, out of which I think, I immediately got drawn to Baraha, which we need to talk about in a moment. And again, that amazing music video that goes with it. But the other tracks, just for everybody to know, are Guwa.
Mm-hmm.
Can you list the tracks for me by title, Aziz?
Yeah, you have Guwa, you have Orange Clan, you have Aris, Baraha, and Symbol of the City.
MashaAllah. Now, we notice from the title, some of them are going to be in Arabic, some of them in the kind of English-Arabic mix you've come to be known for, and
That's
some
right.
of them are just English, right, Aziz?
Yeah, Orange Clan is mostly English. Some tracks from Chapter 1 are purely English, but then with Chapter 2, we've really been trying to play a little bit more to that bilingual identity. So even if the song is majority English, I'll still try to splice in some Arabic there just to make it my own.
And I love how on the SoundCloud I was, listening to each track on its own, and you've also inserted the subtitle or the lyrics in Arabic and in English. And boy, it's such a thrill to be able to read along. This is what we like about Kuwaisiana, and what we like about Aziz is the way you are able to couple these genres that are so different initially. Like, who would think of Louisiana and Khaleeji music? And who could, I think you are really the founder of this genre.
What Kuwaisiana is about, we're very much so a live sound. We're very much, it's the same 6 people for the most part. We've had some fluctuation in the members and stuff. But yeah, people do tell us that, this is different, this is new, both in terms of, the genre of indie Arab rock, as well as like what bands sound like in New Orleans. It's actually quite special to be a part of it.
Indeed, it is groundbreaking. We're talking about a 6-piece band here that blends funk and rock and New Orleans jazz.
Right.
It's got this indie rock, but then it's got this really strong Arabic vibe. And I think maybe Chapter 2, even more than Chapter 1, seems to me like you paid a lot more attention to the Arabic lyric. You're broaching topics ranging from marriage to this idea of power with Guwa. These are themes you have chosen to broach in your music, but they're pretty potent political or social themes,
Yeah,
both here and in the Arab world.
that's right.
You wrote all these songs, and you wrote the lyrics.
Yeah, on chapter 2 is 100% written by me. For chapter 1, there were some songs that were like gifted to me from friends, and I'm working on a lot of these lyrics by myself. But with the pandemic and kind of what's happened in the music industry even before the pandemic, I've been putting a greater focus on direct to fan relations. So basically doing Patreon, which is growing in popularity now, and kind of leveraging that tool to not only find people who support me financially through these monthly contributions, but also give me feedback on my lyrics. So it's really a win-win situation. Some of these people are, a lot of these people are actually based in the Gulf, which is it's really nice to have some of that tie back home. But then, yeah, some of them, their Arabic, just like their grammar and their awareness of things like القافية والوزن, شلون تختار المفردات, يعني كل هالعناصر ممكن يساعدوني فيها. So having this kind of support from back home is great. And I have a significant amount of confidence, let's say, in my Arabic, but it's also it's language. It's like a muscle, and certain things that might sound natural and normal to me, kind of sending them over to someone who supports me. So always is kind of like looking for the best interest. But it's someone who's aware of like script writing, who's aware of like this is how a certain lyric or certain sentence is going to be received. This is like it's been a game changer for me. And like you said, it's becoming more apparent in chapter 2. Like in chapter 1 is like lam shamsiya lam qamariya بالنسبة لي. It's like it makes no difference. It's just like get it out there. But now chapter 2, and I think moving forward for me as an artist, like paying attention to grammar, to just like kind of cultural expectations, the way that people can read into certain things, if like a double meaning is coming across or not, if a narrative is coming across or not. These are things that I've been putting more focus on, and it's really great that you picked up on that and this follow-up release.
So Aziz, let me focus on the term biraha from
Yes.
the new EP, which comes to us equipped with a music video that is really something with the Arabic scripts and some of the lyrics kind of you're playing them literally in the music clip. Can you tell us a little bit about the song itself and what inspired you to make that amazing music video?
So let's start with the word baraha means an open sandlot. If you can just kind of imagine an open sandlot with nothing but really just like sand and maybe some other things scattered through it. This is kind of like, I would say, a persistent visual and landscape that I've grown up with in Kuwait. Especially, I grew up in the 90s, so part of what defines me, not just, the Gulf War in the early 90s, but also this kind of what happened in Kuwait after it, which is a lot of like not exactly the best things. So you kind of had this slow heaviness that kind of came down as the crime rate went up, divorce rate went up. You see a kind of more disintegration of let's say like family values, and just a lot of things that people weren't really used to started to happen, and all the common things that you have in the Middle East of corruption and nepotism and this kind of thing. I think it just kind of now it's like really reaching a boiling point. For Baraha, it's kind of like taking that, but it's encapsulating it in my own experience of growing up, going through adolescence in Kuwait. So some of it is a little bit imagined, but there's like this kind of like sexual frustration. There's this desire to kind of like uh, just express yourself and to be yourself.
I think you're also talking about bullying, aren't you? In so many
Yeah.
ways,
Yes.
from an Arab kid's perspective. I mean, I think what was it? There was this line I won't forget about the lips and aswad, like they mock you because you want to wear black,
Yeah.
or I don't know, paint your nails or do something
Yeah.
like that
ليش
that is
لابس أسود
considered so.
بأسود. Yeah.
Hey, and in a way, that song also comes to function as a song against at-tanammur, which finally we're talking about
That's right.
in music and cultural productions in the Arab world. And your song just comes at the right time because
Yeah.
you're doing it and you're sort of, helping other people, hopefully, who are going through this and see where you are now. But at the same time, the video is kind of playful. It's
Yeah.
not, sort of meant to depress you, but rather it uplifts you.
Yeah.
How much of those lyrics, were, if you don't mind, autobiographical?
Oh, I would say most of it is autobiographical. We didn't have fashionistas when we were growing up, but I kind of put that there to be a little bit tongue in cheek, and also to like really kind of put it in the present, because I think fashionistas are the future. Um, so I think the bullying piece is really important. I think one of the things that defines me is actually the experience of being bullied, and how being bullied in the public school was different than in private school. And I talk about this a little bit in an interview that I did with this Bahraini publication called Switch Magazine. But I talk about how one of the major things that define me today is this transition from being in public school to go into private school. So public school in the Middle East, it's all Arabic. It's a little bit more middle to lower class. And it's just like, it's not the fanciest thing. It's like very kind of standardized schooling. And then you have the private schools, which have, the British system, the American system, and all the rich Kuwaitis go to those schools. And some of the kids from the expats who are, engineers and kind of doing middle class jobs, they send them to the private school because they tend to put education above all else. So for me, as a Kuwaiti, moving from public school into private school was very challenging on many levels. And we could probably spend the entire episode talking about some of these dynamics.
But you're talking in Aziz in Kuwait. I mean, the transition from public school to
Yeah.
private school happened in Kuwait
Within Kuwait.
before you even came to the
That's
States.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really important because it also harkens on, social class and
Yeah.
a certain, relationship with the West,
Yep.
that I think, no, I celebrate the way you are celebrating your journey with its ups and downs in this album. Aziz, can I turn to the track Aris?
Yes.
Which means groom.
Yeah.
Now, we're talking about weddings there, or marriages, ups and downs.
Yeah.
What inspired you to
Yeah, I
write
mean,
that
this one is
track?
very simple. This one's very simple. It's just about domestication, really. And, I'm kind of imagining this repeated scene of me being, I work from home full time. I'm a full time freelancer. I'm doing music. I do marketing and some things like that from home for the past 3 years. And I'm happily married for 3 years. And my wife goes to work, or she used to go to work and come back. So this song is kind of about, just like the struggle of finding love for yourself, of dealing with, a lot of songs kind of stop at that, like we lived happily ever after. I kind of wanted to capture some of the kind of aftershocks of what happens to a man or a woman after they get married. So Aris is, again, in the similar spirit of Baraha, kind of like doing the tongue-in-cheek thing, kind of taking serious topics and delivering it in a lighthearted way. It doesn't cross the line where it's like it's a comedy song, but a lot of the people who I've been sharing the song with, or this music with, I think Baraha and Aris kind of have risen up as like, you know, really good potential tracks in a direction. And one note about Aris too is that this song is like it has a very strong Khaleeji rhythm, first of all. And at the time, I was listening to a lot of like this kind of like North African sub-Saharan blues, and they just had this like really amazing, like Tanarwin and some of these bands, just like really incredible guitar work. And so I've been drawing some inspiration from there just to kind of get out of some of the typical things that I do on guitar and to introduce, yeah, some new guitar vocabulary.
Aziz, can we turn to another track on the new EP, which I absolutely love? It's the track Guwa. And after, with your permission, I would just like to read the lyrics here in Arabic and have you sort of react to them. تصور نفسك واقف واقف على حفة حفة بلكونة في هامش أحلامك. I mean, just that start, like the way the song starts with these lyrics, like imagine yourself standing on a balcony, standing at the very edge of your balcony. You know, I mean, this is powerful stuff written in Arabic, young man, in this EP. And things on so many levels. Then, of course, it goes into the English and the lyrics in English, you know, lead me with your beacon, take me to the finish. Trust is what I'm seeking, tough to replenish. Now, pretty potent lyrics in both Arabic and English. So what's going on in Guwa, meaning power, huh?
Yeah, Guwa does mean power. It also means hello in Kuwaiti.
Oh, wow.
So Guwa, Asak al Guwa, you know, it's like, you know, I hope that you're well, or Guwa kayf halik, you know, it's like hello.
Oh, I never knew that. So more Guwa to you.
Yeah.
More power to you.
I love that.
No, but I love how you really, I mean, we've talked about this before, you and me, about how certain words in the Kuwaiti or Khaleeji dialect differ from, you know, my Levantine dialect. But yes, please go on. Explain to me this concept of Guwa.
Yeah, Guwa came from a very emotional experience for me where I basically did a very bad mistake. Like I basically lied to people about something that I did. And I wrote the song to kind of like get back to square one, to like let myself know that this is not who I actually am. And that, it's like, it came out of that moment of frustration with myself and like, I need to remind myself that, you know, this action that I did was not me. Now, a lot of this visual is kind of like, you know, it's intended to kind of put you in a metaphoric understanding of, you know, what it feels to like not just betray someone, but to betray someone who's like close to you, someone who's like trying to help you.
The way you've contextualized the song for me, wow. I mean, this is one of the advantages of being able to speak to the artist himself.
Yeah.
You know, about the motivation or what was behind the song. I mean, to me, when I read a lyric like Malik al-Ghaba, Sugun Kasar, goodbye, just said istinkar, etc. Do you know, I thought you wrote this after the Trump elections that just happened.
Well, that's the
because
thing,
it seemed to apply so much to this, you know, king of the jungle that fell down and is not doing so very gracefully, if I may say.
Yeah. Well, the danger there too is like after writing the song and recording it and releasing it, you know, they like certain phrases are like kind of people read into them. So like Malik al-Ghaba is usually a reference to a king, you know. So I was like, you know, after going through that whole process, I was just like, geez, I hope people don't think that I'm like singing about their king or something, you know.
But I mean, how appropriate, isn't that, you recorded it before the current elections, right?
Yeah.
And it was released before. And so, I mean, it was on the EP, ready to be released way before the current election. And yet, when I read that, I said, what, is he psychic? Was he sort of seeing in his crystal ball the
Right.
state of the world and how, I think, leaders sort of fall and rise?
It's actually quite unclear to me. Like, am I singing to world music enthusiasts? Am I
Mhm.
singing to Kuwaitis? Am I singing to Arab Americans? Or are these just like different segments and I'm kind of trying to bring them together with a universal message? The one thing that I will say about Kuwaisiana is that it's not just me. Like, I lead the ship and everything, but a lot of the grooves, a lot of the structure, a lot of the arrangement are actually figured out between myself and my drummer, Matthieu, who's French. But Matthieu and I work very closely. And I think that because of this relationship, because of the what's happening inside the band, the message that comes out isn't like Islamophobia and Muslim Americans and Kuwaiti identity. It's a little bit more, all of that stuff is kind of embedded in there. And the kind of overarching feel and message is about like, let's get together, let's dance, let's celebrate, let's understand each other based on the emotions that are being communicated, not, the specifics about what's being said, So hence you have a lot of people enjoying the music, even though they don't really know what the lyrics are, but it's just like they'll book us again, they'll buy a t-shirt, they'll come out and they'll care about what's being done within the band. And my journey is basically, I was in Kuwait, and then I did my years studying college, moved back to Kuwait, moved to New York, which is like when you and I connected, when I was in New York, and then moved to New Orleans to like really give this music thing its fair chance of like surviving. So long story short, I moved to New Orleans. I start to put up these Craigslist ads or posts. I start to work with, at one point I was working with 4 different drummers. A lot of them just kind of like backed out by themselves. But yeah, after that, I think especially Matthieu recognized my ambition, and he like really stepped up to kind of match me. And I didn't know this until recently, but he has actually a background of like working with bands that kind of have a big sound. So he doesn't say very much. He doesn't like pictures of himself to be taken. But Matthieu has been my backbone through so much of this, helping me communicate ideas to people who were there. Like, I think the particularly sensitive member has been the bass player. And we've transitioned bass players maybe 4 times. So we had a bass player who decided he didn't want to be in the band anymore. And then we had someone who came in and then he had to go to rehab. And then we had a third person who came in with the understanding that he was a sub. And then now we're working with Sam, who's been around with us for over a year at this point.
So who are the current members of the band? Do you want to name them, Aziz?
Yeah, so you know me, and you have Matthieu, the drummer. Pat does the hand percussion. We have 2 horn players, Dehan and Nick. Dehan is from Turkey. Nick is from San Diego, not too far away from you. Pat is from the Midwest, Wisconsin. And then Sam is the bass player. He's from New Jersey.
So in a way, you're this much needed link, I think, between the Khalij and sort of Arab American music and what that may be.
Yes.
And so you were taking me through the process of the birth of Kuwaisiana. Back then, before all the band changes, etc. But then how did that lead to chapter 1, which was really your first officially released EP?
Yeah.
That received a lot of critical acclaim, I think.
Yes, I like
please.
to think so too. So with that was released through Universal. I think that's a huge kind of like feather in my cap. But chapter 1 came in, like, you imagine someone who just shows up to your house and just have all these different outfits and they're going to try them on for you. So chapter 1 is kind of like You know, I kind of came in with my suitcase of bags, and I was just like throwing them at Matthieu. And I was like, do you like this one? You like this one? Should this one be faster? Is this groove right? You know, and so we sifted through all of that stuff, and basically like whatever moved us, whatever felt like this was kind of could fit under the Kuwaisiana concept, we embraced it. And back then we also had an accordion player and a synth player, you know, those guys I didn't mention, but they were absolutely critical in getting us off the ground. The accordion sound, the accordion being a very interesting and important link as an instrument between the Middle East and the West. It's an instrument similar to the violin. You kind of find it in both musical cultures. And the synth player, not because he was doing the synth work only, but because he had a van, he was a sound engineer, so he really fully produced, you know, chapter one on like a shoestring budget. I mean, if I told you the money that went behind chapter one, you'd be like, how did you even pull that off?
One of those tracks there, and I think you and I had discussed it, had this awesome music video with what, a Khaleeji cowboy type.
Yeah.
That song. Now, correct me about the pronunciation. Geshi, how do you pronounce that?
Very good. That's exactly how you pronounce it.
And of course, that was such a Kuwaiti term. I did not know what it meant until I asked you, because
Yeah.
you know, it's just a dialectical thing. Can you explain to us, like, you know, the concept behind that song and that amazing music video? I mean, I think it stars a Khaleeji American singer we all
Yes,
know,
yes, it
but
does.
you did a good job acting in that video as
Thank you so
well.
much. I always undersell my acting skills, but then when it's like when it's connected to my music, it's just like it just fires up in a different way. Yeah, so I think drawing on my Kuwaiti identity, my bilingual identity, that's very much so the heart and soul of my identity as an artist, not just Kuwaisiana, not just chapter one. It's something that kind of cuts through. The most important theme, I would say, that I've been kind of seeing as I kind of look back on the work is this kind of um, finding strength in the face of adversity. It's such an important theme for our time. There's so many ways to express it. So Geshi is like, you know, it's directly from that feeling of wanting to find or trying to find stability in the face of, you know, chaos and disruption. Um,
Where was it shot, that
okay, so I mean,
music video?
anyone who's been to New Orleans knows that it's been shot in the French Quarter,
Ah,
which is actually that's all Spanish architecture, but it's called the French Quarter because of like some historic details that we don't need to get into. Yeah. So لما أقول لك امسك جشك, when I tell you like hold your gesh, it's like hold your weight. It's kind of like um, it's a word that's also used for like stuff and luggage, so it has this kind of like weight to it. Um, but yeah, you know, when you're like let's say an immigrant or you're new to a city, there's a sense of weightlessness when someone is like oppressing you and telling you that you don't understand history or your own history or whatever. There's a sense of disconnect between you, just like kind of like feel light and floating in the air. So again, Geshi is one of these songs that's just like find your strength. You know, you have this kind of rapid urbanization happening around you. You have all these people who are like trying to get your attention and distract you, which is like, you know, there's a line there about like advertising chasing you and like trying to tell you what you're thinking. And there's certain that's kind of like the spirit of the song. And so the music video kind of like explains that in a kind of like music industry way, where you have this kind of like busker who's just like a person playing music on the street collecting money, and then you have, you know, the arms of the industry kind of reaching out and like trying to monetize and, you know, kind of capture the soul of
all
that
of that
person.
captured and eternalized by Plus Aziz and Kuwaisiana in an amazing video which is available of course on YouTube. حبيبنا عزيز انت يعني رافع راسنا في الوطن
حبيبي.
العربي
تسلم.
وبامريكا. We are so proud of you. Can I leave you with your Arabic listeners and let you give them a message in Arabic for Arab Americans or even Americans who speak Arabic? I have to tell you, my students at Stanford learning Arabic always enjoy your music videos because they can relate as Americans and as Arabic learners. I'll leave it to you to leave a رسالة صوتية إلى المستمعين الذين يتكلمون اللغة العربية سواء في الشرق الأوسط أو في أمريكا.
حبيبي شاكر لك على هذه الاستضافة واتشرف بتواجدي معك اليوم. مشروع الروك الخليجي هذا مشروع موجود من زمان، يعني هو لما نتكلم عنه كفكرة ممكن الإحساس إن هذا الشيء جديد علينا، بس الحقيقة إن يعني في أعمال كثيرة موجودة سواء كانت بمجال المسرح أو الكوميديا. ممكن يعني نبدأ نفهم شنو هي المشاعر اللي يعني بنوصلها عن طريق الروك الخليجي. وطبعا هناك فرق ثانية يعني حاليا موجودة مثل فرقة مجاز من بحرين، if you follow Museland Records، هذول هم من بحرين، وهذا يعني جزء أساسي بالنسبة لي من الحركة الموسيقية اللي قاعد تصير بالخليج. فطبيعي يعني الإنسان في أشياء راح تعجبه وأشياء ما راح تعجبه، بس إن شاء الله يعني تشجعونا على هالعمل ونكمل معاكم.
يا ابني الأحلام نتمنى لك دوام النجاح والتقدم. Here from the Arabology online show, it has been such a pleasure to speak to this young man, this multi-talented young man who I've known for many years. Proud of you, Plus Aziz. Yalla, chapter 2, inshallah, chapter 3 one day. And we're always here to support such amazing multi-talented performers and musicians like you. Keep up the good work, Habibna, and stay in touch with us, all right?
Thanks so much, buddy.
أهلين.